This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes.
Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Stories, The True and the Fictional. We've got another great guest coming in, but you know what we do first. It's the selfish plug. It's asking Ryan how he's going. Are you living the dream?
Yeah, still living the dream, just a bit frantic at the moment because trying to get my house ready for my dad to come down and visit tomorrow. So I am good. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. 5:30, yeah, so it's very, very, very long day for me. But I'm still living the dream.
Cool. Well guys, check out our sponsors, Rebecca Cassells, Martin Kearns. Grab my new book, Ancora. It's been out for a little bit, but it's doing well, so that's me talking in the future, even though we're recording this in the past. I'm just dreaming that it's doing well. But now, let's bring in our guest, Noel Stark. How are we?
Hi. I'm good. How are you guys?
Ryan's dying to know if you're related to Tony.
Tony's a distant cousin, but the Starks from Game of Thrones are my real
that's
family.
the other one. Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so for those who don't know, who is Noel Stark?
Yes. Well, I'm an author. I'm a romance author. I've got a debut novel that just came out a couple of weeks ago. That's like kind of a Hollywood romance. It's a rom-com. And I wrote it because I've worked in the industry, in the TV and film industry for a really long time, and many, many, many different roles and many different types of shows. And I thought I'd put all that experience into a novel. And so I'm here.
Cool. Well, we're gonna have a great chat because me and Ryan are both not only comic book nerds, but we're movie buffs.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
Just warning: if you mention horror, Ryan ears will perk up, and it'll go for 4 hours. Just trust me.
Oh, okay.
He's a horror buff.
I was just on a podcast called Scary Movie and a Sandwich.
Wow.
Where we talked about a scary movie. And I'm not a big horror fan because I get scared too easily. Yeah. But we talked about a scary movie and what sandwich would be connected with that scary movie. And so that was the podcast. So yeah.
What was the scary movie?
The scary movie was Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. Do you know that movie?
I haven't seen it, but I know it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not your usual horror movie. It's more on the disturbing end of things. And I tried to bring on like haggis as a sandwich because it's set in Scotland. Yeah. But you can't get haggis in Los Angeles because there's certain ingredients that are illegal here. So we couldn't do it. So we had to do a fish and chips sandwich sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Well, there's a tradition here on the podcast. We do icebreaker questions because we like to get to know the author before we like to get to know their books.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot more people it happens to Ryan all the time. He buys the book while we're recording, because he gets to know the author, and then, it's. I got to say, it's probably 9 times out of 10 that'll happen.
So. Okay. All right. I listened to one of your podcasts and Ryan was saying that his finger was hovering over the buy button, and it was depending on how well the icebreaker questions were.
Exactly.
So I'm a little bit nervous.
That's how it goes. We're very judgmental. So yeah, it depends. Sometimes the interview can end after the icebreakers, or it can continue on depending on how your answers go.
Whew. Nervous now. Okay.
Well, just remember, we're all about being selfish. So don't have to be political. Don't have to, give us all the what we want to hear. But so with that in mind, the first question is, if you could get rid of anything in the world, what would it be?
And
Okay, this
that's
one,
it's saying that the world is, we've got world peace. There's
right?
no cruelty to animals. There's no cruelty to humans. We're all beautiful people.
Everything's good.
That's how you have to picture the world.
Yeah.
Perfectly selfish. Okay, so this one's a bit controversial. Okay.
Go for it.
That's fine.
Pumpkin pie. Yes, see,
Brian,
yes.
Brian, you know how that whole chow chow? I
Yeah,
love pumpkin pie.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I
I
know.
can't stand it.
Yes. Thank
my-
you. Thank you. Okay, so pumpkin pie is like, I will eat anything. Oh no. I will eat anything, but for whatever reason, I just hate pumpkin pie. And if it was just, a Thanksgiving fall kind of pie, I wouldn't care so much. Every year I have to explain to people, thanks, but I don't want any pumpkin pie, but I'll take the apple or I'll take the cherry or whatever. But the pumpkin spice culture has exploded. Like here in LA, here in the States, I'm Canadian, so I mean it also happens up there, but I feel like it's not as intense as it is down in the States. The pumpkin spice culture has exploded to ridiculous degrees. So the second Labor Day hits, it's like pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkin spice cookies and pumpkin spice and all this stuff. And it's just hitting me all the time with this one thing that I don't want to eat. And so I would get rid of pumpkin pie if I could.
Well, send it my way because I love it.
Yeah, I can't. I don't believe fruit or vegetables should be in a dessert. To be honest with you, like fruit salad to me is not a dessert. It's like an entree kind of thing. But yeah, if like apple pie, pumpkin pie, all these fruits and vegetables in pies, that it just shouldn't be allowed
I
at
mean,
all.
I do like apple pie. I'm a fan of
yeah.
apple pie, but the pumpkin pie, I just can't.
No, it tastes like caramel. It's good.
No, it doesn't. It
Yes,
tastes like
Oh,
pumpkin,
it
and
does
pumpkin
not taste
tastes
like
like
caramel.
crap.
You're having the wrong pumpkin pie then, because it's like the one my mum makes, it's like caramelized, and it's just like you wouldn't know it's pumpkin.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's not pumpkin. Maybe she's just telling you it's pumpkin and it's caramel.
Because I watch, as a child, I watch the pumpkin chopping, unless they're like going, well, this is a new pumpkin that's not a pumpkin. And I'm just saying. And I'm a fan of pumpkin soup. So,
Pumpkin
you and your
soup is
pumpkin.
okay. You're ready for something savory. I don't like the savory stuff in a pie.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
can
the
agree
issue.
with that. 100%. The only pies I really eat are like meat pies and beef and cheese pies and steak pies and stuff like that anyway. I don't really have pies as a dessert. It's not a real big thing over here in Australia, like in certain places it is, but you guys over there are the ones that have a lot of pies for dessert.
Yeah, it's mainly pies for dessert. Yeah.
Yeah, but that whole pumpkin spice latte things and
no.
I watch at night time. I go. I don't really go on Facebook much during the day, but at night time when I get into bed, my wife will watch her true crime things, which scare the crap out of me. But I love them too. But her knowledge of how to get rid of a body scares me sometimes. Um, But then I put my headphones on and I just watch like I have a lot of comedians and a lot of pop culture things on Facebook. So I just go on the videos and watch videos. And around one time of the year, it's always pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin this, pumpkin that. And I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
no.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
If, And you have to live over there. So I feel for you. I do. I
Thank you.
really do
Thank
feel
you.
for you.
Really appreciate that support.
Exactly. All right. Well, this next question is not so controversial, unless you want it to be, which is totally fine. What is something that is on your bucket list?
There's this thing in California called the California Double that I really want to do, which is you surf in the morning and you ski in the afternoon. And so I know how to ski as a Canadian. I'm a good, I know how to ski. But I just started learning surfing, this past spring. And so I want to do that. I want to do the surfing and not like just go for a lesson. I want to be able to really feel like I'm
Doing it.
sort of a surfer. Like I don't need to be good.
Yeah.
I don't need to surf for a long time, but just do that in the morning and then hightail it and go ski at night. I think that would be really cool.
I mean, this may be my lack of knowledge about all of America, but is there an area in LA where it's possible to do both those things in one day?
Yeah. That's why they call it a California double. So you can like where I live, which is West Hollywood, it's about 40-minute drive to the ocean. And then the other way, it's about an hour and a half to the ski hill. So
Wow, okay.
yeah, so you can do it very easily, even in the winter time, like in December or January. It's not super warm to swim in the ocean, but if you go in a wetsuit and then you just hightail it to the hill, it's about 2 hours from the ocean, and yeah, you can do it.
Can't do it in Australia.
That's awesome. I
Because
wish we had that out here. We don't.
well, because it's
Can't
like
do it in
I think
Canada.
it's like a yeah, it'd be like I think it's like 7 hours from the coast
Oh, is it?
to the snowy mountains.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theoretically, like if you're surfing in the dark, maybe.
Okay.
You can
Maybe,
start
or
out,
like
yeah.
it's night skiing.
Yeah.
If you go to night
Yeah.
skiing, you might be
Yeah.
able to do it.
You probably
Yeah.
wouldn't
But
feel
the
like
big-
doing it after that drive.
Yeah, that's a long drive. That's a very long
Well,
drive.
the big skiing areas around here are like there's a place called Jindabyne, which is about
Threadbow.
six and a half hours from here, and they have one of the biggest ski resorts in Australia, and there's nowhere near a beach. Like that way,
Right.
you're going south, which I think it's just past Canberra, so I'm not sure if
Mm.
no, there's nothing.
Yeah, because I looked it up. Because when I did a big road trip like 8 years ago, and
Mhm.
it's one of those weird locations where you have to go all the way up and down, or all the way up and
Oh.
back. You know, it's like in a really
Right.
weird location. You know, so it's
Yeah.
not like
Do you guys ski?
no. I've
No.
never seen snow.
You've never
I've
seen
I've
snow?
never
never
seen
seen
snow.
snow. Wow.
Oh my
And you live up in the
goodness.
mountains too.
Yeah, but it snows on the other end. And every
Okay.
time it snows, I go, I'm going to drive up there and see it. And then because I live so far, I check the road. The road's open. I hop in my car, I drive up, and then half an hour into the drive, it's road closed. You know, so I can't go see the snow. You know,
What a
one
drag.
day.
One day.
Well,
I think
I've been to Jindabyne and Threadbow, and so I didn't ski myself there, but I have been to Jindabyne with some mates. We stayed up there for about a week and got a 3-day pass to Threadbow. It's good. Even if you don't ski, there's still plenty of stuff to do.
Well, it's because of Oscar.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
I
still
did that
pretty
last year
okay.
in the
Awesome.
summer. I
In
think it
the
was like
summer, yeah.
it was close to summer, and it was still only like it was 12 degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
not Fahrenheit. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
difference
No,
is.
I'm on Celsius. Don't worry. You can say Celsius and I'll get it.
Yeah. So no, it was cool. There's a lot of crows up there. It's like the highest point in all of Australia, and there's just like 50 crows just circling the top.
Oh, is that
Wow.
because people were dying?
I don't know. I didn't see people dying. They're doing a lot of construction up there.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I think you can do it in Canada. You might be able to do it in Vancouver, but you'd have to be in a dry suit. You'd have to be it's colder in the ocean part.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to
Yeah.
really know what you were doing
Yeah.
as a surfer and then go skiing. Like
Yeah.
the skiing would be the hard, but the ocean part would be hard. So you just might not want to do it.
Well, don't they
in
have like
Vancouver.
those places you can go and it's like indoor surfing with like an artificial wave, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh," like, does that count?
I don't know. Do they? I've never heard of that.
I've
Maybe.
seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I've seen it in the
Jamie
movies.
is right. Yeah. They do have like it's indoor surfing where it's created. It's like a wave pool, but more extreme. It creates the artificial wave through like some motors and stuff in the back, and then you see people. Well, I've seen people surfing on that as well. So
Yeah.
that might be another option for people who don't really live near the beach but live near the snow.
You're like, would
Yeah.
it count though? Would it count? That's the
Yeah,
question.
that's the
know,
thing.
but it is
That's the
good.
thing.
Could ask-
We'll have to
I'll ask the
consult
Californian.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 All
Yeah.
right, let's move on to the
Now,
next one.
are you going to change the next one, Jamie,
I
like
don't
I
know
did?
because she's in Hollywood. I think we need to hear the right answer.
Okay.
Oh,
Um,
Okay.
oh,
I think it depends on the
okay.
guest, um, so there is kind of two answers to this if
Hmm.
you want, because no one can ever just give us one. But
Hmm.
part one, in your opinion, what is the greatest sitcom ever made? And if that's not your favorite one to watch, what is?
Ah, yes. Okay. So, I mean, these questions you sent me earlier, and I've literally I've been thinking, but putting in some hard thinking time on these questions. And the greatest sitcom ever made. I mean, I'll be boring and I'll say The Office. Like The Office is always
Yep.
good. You can watch it a billion times. You always find
Mhm.
something new. It's comfort watching. It's
Yeah.
always good.
Yeah.
Um, is it my favorite? I mean, I was going through a bunch of different sitcoms, like, like Scrubs and Community. Like Community is always surprising. There's some Canadian sitcoms that I love. Like there's this Canadian sitcom called Corner Gas that I just love because it's very Canadian, so it makes me feel really cozy.
Yep.
And then there's Schitt's Creek.
Yep.
But I think I would have to say the sitcom that surprises me the most consistently is Arrested Development,
Yep.
Cool.
because
I've
it's
seen, yeah.
pardon.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say I love Arrested Development. It gave us one of the best characters in Job from Will Arnett. I absolutely love him in Arrested Development.
Yeah, he's so good. The whole cast is so good. The writing is so amazing. It's like every episode is tied up in this way where it kind of blows your mind in this comedic way because it brings everything together. Henry Winkler's in there doing all these
Mhm.
kind of random happy days
Yeah.
meta jokes
Yeah.
along with Ron Howard, like there's so
Mhm.
and then David Cross is so
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
so cringy, like he's so
100%.
awful that I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really funny. And then the kids are so great, like Maybe is so great and George
Mhm.
Michael is really funny. So I
George
I would
Michael,
say
yeah.
probably yeah, Arrested Development. Yeah. What about you guys? Do you
Nice.
guys have like outside of The Office and the Friends and the Seinfelds, do you guys have a one that's an
Oh,
offshoot?
for me, it's Scrubs is my favorite,
Mm,
all-time favorite.
yeah.
Um, but a less obscure one, which falls into the sitcom category, but it's also a musical. It's called
Mm.
Gallivant. Um,
Oh,
it's
I don't know
18
that.
episodes. Um, it's a it's oh well, they say it's the bastard love child of Monty Python and the Princess Bride.
Okay.
So it's a
All right.
medieval themed um musical. Written a lot of the music's done by Alan Menken, who did
Hmm.
Oh,
Beauty and the
yep.
Beast and all that
Hmm.
stuff. It was written for Zachary Levi right around the time of what was it? Tangled. So they worked together on
Oh,
Tangled, and they're going to do something with him. But then I think he got pulled into Thor or something.
okay.
But the guy that took his place is still brilliant. And it's
Mm,
if you ever want to see Vinnie Jones singing, it's he. That's the show. But
okay. I'll check it out for
it's
sure.
brilliant. It's on Disney Plus. It's only 18 episodes. That's all they got, but it's so funny.
Okay. I'll
Um,
check it out. I did
Yeah.
see an Australian sitcom that was like a mockumentary and it was set in a public school and it was a
oh,
Mhm.
guy who did a bunch of different characters. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking
Chris
about?
Lilly. Yeah, Chris Lilly. It's Summer High Tide is what you're talking
Summer
about.
Summer
Heights
Heights
High.
High.
And
Yes.
he did a young girl called Jemay. It's Jamie,
Yeah.
but it's pronounced
Yeah.
Jemay.
Oh my God, she's
A
so
young
good.
Samoan guy named Jonah, and a teacher,
Yeah.
Mr. G, who was like
Yeah.
obsessed about creating the world's
Like
best
musical
play.
theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good. I've seen all of
It is
Chris
really
Lilly's stuff. He's fantastic.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. So
But
what's your sitcom that's like the side more obscure?
oh. Well, I always say my favorite sitcom of all time is How I Met Your Mother.
Mm.
That one for me, pretty much. Yeah, I started off on Friends obviously when I was a lot younger, and then to me, How I Met Your Mother was a more more adult version of Friends. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like they had more, I guess, innuendo and more, you know, more jokes that you had to think about rather than Friends was just
Right.
that, you know, you can understand everything. Friends is still great, don't get me wrong, but yeah, How I Met Your
Mhm.
Mother, and then pretty much anything Bill Lawrence has done after Jamie
Yeah.
got me into Scrubs.
Right.
You know, Ted Lasso, Shrinking, pretty much anything that he does is
He
always
is
Yeah.
really
brilliant.
good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but Ted Lasso is probably one of my all-time favorite shows. I will go back and watch those 3 seasons over and over again. So,
Oh, that's so good.
um, it's not really classified as a sitcom, more as like a comedy. But yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
we're talking sitcom, How I Met Your Mother for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Awesome. All right, next question's a fun one. What is your zombie apocalypse plan?
Yeah, I don't like this one was the one that sort of like, well, the last two sort of stumped me, but the zombie apocalypse plan stumped me because I kind of am a little bit fatalist. Like I kind of feel like I would probably be killed pretty early.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't have time to have a
Yeah.
plan. I mean, I was in LA when the pandemic happened
Mm.
Yeah.
and Canada quickly shut the border and there was like this thing where like we're shutting the border on Tuesday, so everybody come home and I'm like sort of going into zombie apocalypse
Yeah.
plan during that time. So I was like, oh my God, do I need to stay here and drive my car up to Vancouver? And do I put gas in the trunk? Like, what if there's no
Yeah.
gas stations open? And
Yeah.
how do I pack food? And how does that work? So it's logistically trying to figure out how to get back home. I just flew back home. I
Yeah.
just decided to fly back home. But it's weird because there was and again I was listening to one of your podcasts and you guys said that it was like all the zombies, so all the different types
Yeah.
of zombies.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's really hard because you have the slow moving like Night of the Living Dead
Yeah.
zombies. You have like the fast angry ones from 28 Days.
Yeah.
Then you have like the ones that can't see but can hear, like from
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Last
The
of
Last
Us.
of Us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think I might just walk out into them and say,
Yeah.
like, I'm done. Like, I don't want
I think we need to
to
map it out.
labor
I
this.
think we need to map it out now, Ryan. Like, assume that the Walking Dead ones are in the colder regions because it's colder.
Yeah.
You know, like what kind of
Yeah.
Yeah,
zombies
and
are?
the ones for the fast ones for 28 days later are only in the UK because that's where it was all
That's
set.
it. Yeah.
And then if you're in the US, you've got the Last of Us zombies, which I don't call them technically zombies. But I
No.
had this discussion with my wife. She still calls them zombies, and I said, well, I don't really think they're
No.
classified as zombies, but I mean they are dead. They're just the
Mhm.
cordyceps and the
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
plantation life is
animated.
controlling them. So I guess
Yeah.
in some way they're zombies, but
Yeah.
I think America gets those ones. Um, and then I think over here,
All right. Well, we
I
had
don't
that.
think we get
We
any.
had that movie with oh, what's his name? The
Oh,
Hobbit guy.
Yeah, not Martin Short.
Cargo.
Oh God,
There's a movie called
yeah,
Cargo,
Cargo, yeah.
and that's
Yeah, those
yeah,
we get those ones
that was a good movie.
where you kind of get in Cargo. You kind of get it's like a chrysalis. You
Yeah.
kind of get encased with
Uh,
like, and then you come out of it and you're
oh, so it's
zombified.
the
It's
little
been a while
body
since I watched it.
snatchers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm. A little bit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have those ones. But yeah,
Okay.
look, lately, early on in the podcast, a lot of people were having like proper plans, like I'm going
Yeah.
to a bunker, I'm going to a hardware store, all that. Lately, for the last probably 10 episodes, people are like, I'm just going to say, hey, here you go, have me,
Yeah,
or
well,
spend like a
I
day with your loved ones and then go, okay, let's all go out together.
yeah, because I think there's so many different versions of zombies,
Yeah.
and we've seen all the badness that can come from zombies. Like we've
Yeah.
seen all the different scenarios of what can happen with zombies that it's like, oh
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I mean, the Shaun of the Dead zombies are sort of
Mhm.
okay because at least you can keep your
Mhm.
loved ones.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
ones that turn into zombies, you
Yeah.
can keep them and they can still play video games and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's not a
Exactly.
terrible
As long
scenario
as you chain them up, then
Yeah.
you're okay.
as long
Yeah.
as you chain them up.
And
Yeah.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. If you've seen that,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
they're they're
But
pretty chill.
There was a Canadian short film with the woman from The Matrix, and they had zombies in it, and they had put the zombies into servant positions. So they actually had chained the zombies and then made them vacuum or mow the lawn, or like so they had become
Okay.
kind of a servant class. So if that's my situation, then I can do that. Like
Yeah.
I can corral them, I can
Yeah.
manage them. So I guess that would
Okay.
be my plan. It's just
Yeah.
to motivate them as a manager
Yeah.
Yeah.
to do the
No,
work
I
that
think
we
that's
don't.
good. I like that idea. Training them to be our servant. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right. The final icebreaker question. It's a good one. I like this one. If so Bill and Ted arrive outside your house in their phone booth time machine and say, "Whoa, dude, Rufus asked you to give us asked to give you a free ride in our phone booth time machine." Where do you go?
Okay, so this is another one I had to think about, because do I have to fix something in this scenario?
No, you can do whatever you want.
No,
You're
I can just go back whenever.
totally selfish. Yeah.
I try to be selfish. So, like, this is what's hard. Like, I was a history student. I have a history degree, and pretty much all situations in history are terrible. Like the disease is horrible. Like if you're poor, it's awful. Like if you have money, as in any time,
Yeah.
like it's aces. Yeah, let's go back to Regency England, as long as I have lots of money and I don't have to worry about, like selling myself on the street.
Yeah.
Or like, sure, I'll go back to, I don't know, Alexandria, and maybe I won't have to sell myself on the street. So I think it would have to depend if I get money or not to go back with me. Is that something that I can do?
I'd say
Do I have
you
the
get the whole
money?
cost. You can get the costumes and the
I
a
can
little
get
bit
the
a little bit of
status.
a little bit of spending money. You don't have to live there. You're just going for a visit. So
Okay. Okay, so then I guess, like, you know what? I would probably go back to New York, like old time New York,
old
when it
time New
was
York.
just
Yeah.
starting to like boom. I think that would be pretty interesting, because you have all the different, immigrant classes, you have extreme wealth, you have not, you have lots of poor people, but there's also tons of innovation going
Yeah.
on. I think that would be pretty fun. What
Okay.
about you guys?
I can see that.
Mine changes all the time.
Does it?
I'm fascinated with history.
Mm,
So I'd go back to early Australia. I'd probably
mm,
die, but
I know.
just to
That's
have.
the thing, right?
But yeah, I'd
Like
have a weird.
how early Australia? Like when the boats first came,
Or
or when it was a
1800s,
penal colony, or like when?
1800s, when the bushrangers
18.
were doing their thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Because most of them didn't rob the poor, so I'd be all right.
Right. Okay. That's very cool.
There was actually one that would hold people up, and then if they couldn't afford it, he'd give it back. Like he'd just like if you were rich, he'd be like, okay, give it. But then they're poor, he's like, oh no, you can't afford it.
I mean, did they have a questionnaire where you had to
No,
fill?
not back then. I think it was just how they, they knew the classes. They knew how, you knew
Yeah.
if someone was rich,
Right.
You can tell
So they
by
were
the
like
way they
Australian.
dress.
Yeah.
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 They were like Australian Robin Hoods, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's completely different from the American outlaws.
Mm,
Because these were like literally because things were so tough. It was like you robbed to stay alive, pretty much
right.
to live instead of to run around and just. I mean, like our most famous one, Ned Kelly. He robbed a few banks and he'd
Mhm.
burn people's mortgage papers, and he'd like he'd give back to the community.
Right. That's
At
cool.
the same time, but
Mm.
but yeah, we did have a few crazies. Like just
Yeah.
complete nut jobs.
Imagine.
You're always going to have a
Can
nut job, but
imagine.
not every now and again. But a lot of them were just a victim of circumstance, really.
Mm, mm. That's cool. I didn't know that. I'm learning all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Welcome to the. I recently had to talk about because I was on a podcast recently called the Dad Lit podcast, which is really cool. And he was American and he just wanted to know everything about Australia.
Oh, that's
Going
cool.
like, can I talk about my book? You know?
No, you can't.
No,
Talk more about Australia.
eventually, yeah. Yeah, so they gave him all the spiel about Ned Kelly, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? Where are you going?
Probably just 100 years into the future, to be honest with you. I'd just like to see, you don't want to go,
Mm.
you never want to go too far into the future, just in case like the end of the world has happened.
Yeah.
But maybe 100, 200 years in the future, just to see, what's going on. If, we've become better people, and how society's going. And
Mm-hmm.
if I go 200 years in the future and it still looks exactly the same as it does today, I'd be pretty disappointed. But I would expect to at least maybe, some more technology, maybe some flying cars, stuff like
Right.
that. But
But
yeah,
wait, if it was
just to check it
crap,
out.
if it was total crap, would you feel like you would need to change it when you came back?
No, because that's one thing that I like. I believe in fate, and I believe in the butterfly effect. I
Mm,
believe that if I tried to change something, then I'd come back, and then things would just be completely crazy. So I
right.
would be very, very careful at what I did when I went to the future. But yeah, even if it was crap, I would just be like, oh well, at least I'm not going to be around to have to put up with it, and
Right.
that'd be it. I wouldn't tell anyone about anything, but yeah, I was like, if
Yeah.
this is what has to happen, this is what has to happen.
Well, there's also the theory, like a lot of physicists have this theory about time travel that you actually can't change anything. That even if you say
Okay.
if you wanted to save your great grandfather from like getting hit by a bus,
Yeah.
and you do that, but then he walks down the street and an anvil falls on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, so there's this theory that you can't actually escape
Yeah.
the timeline. Like you can change it a little bit, but you can't actually
Yeah.
escape it.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
the
because I'm a massive believer in fate and destiny, and I believe you're right. I believe, if someone is destined to die at this particular time,
Mm,
even if you go back in time to change it, something's going to happen
mm,
to make sure that that happens anyway.
mhm.
You're right, you can bend the rules of fate, but you can never break them. So yeah, I
Yeah.
100%
yeah.
agree.
That's like that episode, one of my only favorite episodes of Supernatural after season 5,
Mm.
where an angel watched Titanic, hated it so much that he went back in time to stop the ship from sinking, so the movie never got
Yeah.
made. And then all these people were just
Yeah.
randomly dying, and it's because fate was going around killing all these people that weren't supposed to be here. You know?
Right, right. But he saved us from the movie,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
that's
that
funny.
was cool. All right, look, you passed the icebreakers, so now it's time for the fun stuff. This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between two ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today. Tell us about your writing journey. How did it start, and how'd you get to where you are?
Okay, well, like I said, I started in film and TV. And I was an actress, I was a writer, I was a director, I was a producer, I was the lowest rung on the ladder. I was not the highest rung, because the highest rung is like the executives at Disney or whatever. I haven't done that job, but I've done a lot of the different jobs, and on a bunch of different shows. Like I've worked in scripted, I've worked in kids, but I've also worked a ton of reality shows. So, Ryan, I'm working on a true crime show right now. So it's I've done true crime, I've done ghost shows, I've done
Ooh.
renovation shows. Yeah, ghost
Is
shows
that
are
like
interesting.
the ghost adventures and ghost hunters and
Yeah,
stuff like
I've
that?
done two kinds, like the ghost hunters or whatever sort of style. I've also done the shows where you like someone's being haunted and they retell their story, and then there's a reenactment of the haunting. So I worked on those as well.
Awesome.
So I've done a lot of different things, and I never ever thought I would write a book, never. But I went through this massive romance reading phase, and I just thought I could write one of these. Like these aren't so hard. It's completely naive, completely ridiculous thought. But it launched me into writing a novel, which I set in the TV and film world because I knew it so well. So I didn't really want to spend time building a world that I didn't know. Because I wanted to focus on the characters and I wanted to focus on the love story. But so that's why I put it in the TV world. And I'd read a lot of Hollywood romances, but they tend to focus on the actors or sometimes the writers. And so I decided I wanted to do something about the crew. And so this is about the director, who's a woman, and the director of photography, who's a guy. And I have to say, like, it was such a great experience because when you're working in film and TV, you have to convince a ton of people that your project is worthy. And you have to convince them to give you a bunch of money and a bunch of their time. And when you're writing a novel, it's kind of just you. Like you do ask for help, look down the road, of course. But it's really freeing that you don't have to convince anybody that the project is valid for it to go forward. So yeah, that was my writing journey in a nutshell.
Cool. So did you
Awesome.
write screenplays and stuff first?
I've
Ever do any
written, like,
with
I've
that?
bounced around. I've
Yeah.
bounced around. Like in Canada, the pie is small. Like I'm in LA now, but I
Yeah.
got my chops in Canada, and the pie is small. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to know how to do a bunch of different things in order to just make a living.
Yeah.
So I've worked in development. I've written screenplays. I've written TV shows. I've written kids shows. Like I wrote for Paw Patrol, you know that show, Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so those were the kind of scripted things that I've done.
Yeah.
And then in reality TV, I've written scripts for that, which is a very different type of thing.
Yeah.
But also I've worked a lot in post and pre-production, which is a different type of writing. Like you're writing with the images essentially. So yeah.
No, it's just because I started writing screenplays just for a bit of a hobby, even though one almost got made randomly.
That's
Yeah, well,
amazing.
I got a guy in my street, like he doesn't live here anymore, but like randomly I was mowing his lawn and he knew Ridley Scott
Oh, really?
from like 20 years ago. So he still had
Oh my God.
he still had Hollywood contacts, and he's just like going, right, oh, you should write a screenplay. And I went, oh, okay. And I Googled how to write a screenplay and I gave it to him and he said, let's do it. And then it got into pre-production, but then it all fell apart.
Oh, wow. That's
so
pretty amazing that you got that
yeah,
far.
like for the first thing I ever wrote. So that spun me out.
Mm-hmm.
But then all I did was just start turning all my screenplays into books. So
Right.
so I
Yeah.
was just, wondering if that's something you did or at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly knew that it would be easier to get something on
Yeah.
paper than writing a screenplay. That's a really good point. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I know tons of people have written tons of screenplays that have just sat in the drawer, and you can't. The thing about writing novels is that even if you're not traditionally published, you can self-publish. You can
Yep.
get it out
Yeah.
there. You can
Yep.
be noticed, and that, like, you can have people read it, whereas you don't really have that with screenplays. So that's for
Yeah.
sure. Because when I started writing the novel, I began realizing, oh, I could turn that screenplay idea into a novel.
Yeah.
Oh, I could turn that TV show idea into a novel. Oh, okay. So then, and then, who knows? Maybe one of those will get turned
Yeah.
into a movie
That'd be so funny.
or
Yeah.
a TV show or whatever. So
Be like,
yeah,
well, the screenplay's ready to go. No.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, because when I write, I'm very visual, so I see what I write, and everything starts as a movie in my head first.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
your book, Love Camera Action,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess that you can see it. Like when you wrote it,
Yeah.
did you see it? Like because you're in it?
Yeah, that was actually a bit tricky for me. I was writing it more on the level of a screenplay. And maybe you found this as well when you were writing, is that I found that I had no problem with dialogue, I had no problem with plot, but the interiority of the characters was harder for me to get to because you depend on actors or you depend on like your subjects if it's documentary style and you depend a lot on what they say, how they say it, how they look.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in a novel because you can't
No.
see anyone.
No.
So I would hand in, pages to my editor or my friends or whatever, and they'd say, "Well, what is this person thinking?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's right there in the dialogue." And
Yeah.
like, no, it's not.
No.
So that was very hard for me to figure out, and I still have to figure that out. I still need people to tell me, "You need to fill in more here." So yeah.
Yep. No, that didn't work very well for mine because mine was very dialogue heavy.
Mm,
I was just kind of let the dialogue move along.
yeah.
But I'm
Mhm. And that's a
self-published.
style, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a style. Like I've
Yeah.
read really amazing books where it's just like dialogue, 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 and there's not even any dialogue tags
Yeah.
to help you, but it is on the dialogue. I'm not
Yeah.
good enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So you're probably more talented than I am.
Well, you haven't read it yet, so you don't know. And I self-publish everything myself. I'm too controlling.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I could I wouldn't be comfortable handing it over to a studio. Like unless I'm like going like I'm
Right.
in this. I'd be doing the Stallone thing with Rocky, Just like I'm in
Right,
this
right,
and
right.
I'm hands on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite because I from working in TV for so long, I got so used to notes that
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, just tell me what's wrong with it and I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Like just tell me. And I don't like there's a certain like I actually bow down to indie publishers because it is so much work. You have to look after the marketing, you have to look after the formatting, like the cover, like all that stuff. And I just didn't have the space for that.
Yeah.
So I went the traditional publishing route and I was kind of like, I don't need to control that. Like you guys do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm maxed already. So
Yeah.
can't
it, yeah.
do it. But yeah, like I'm very impressed with indie authors because that's a lot to take on. Yeah.
I love it all. I love all the process. The only thing we all, as unanimously indie authors, hate is the marketing. It's just like, how do we, like, it's just how. I mean, I made a book trailer for my one that's coming out. Well, it's already out
cool.
when this is released. And it's up to 1,800 views on Twitter.
Wow,
Like,
amazing.
every day, it's just people that keep watching it. I'm going like, just praying that all those watchers will buy it. I'd
That's
love
so
to,
cool.
but
Yeah. I mean, I have to do my own marketing, even though I'm traditionally published too. Like that, you still have to do that. And it's such a, I really don't like it, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But imagine if you're back, say, 50 years ago and you just written the book and you'd had to do the marketing. I think it'd be a hell of a lot harder because you'd no social media, no internet, no computers. No, I would think it'd just be, how much more difficult would it be, best being if your book came out 50 years ago as opposed to now, because now you can just get your phone and go bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
But then before that, it's just word of mouth. It's just people, seeing it in a bookstore and stuff like that.
Well, and you bring up a really good point because that's a really exciting place where books are right now, is that because like back in the day, you were at the mercy of traditional publishers. And if they liked it, then great. If they didn't, then you were SOL, right? So now it's because you can self-publish, because there are places for fan fiction and you don't have to worry about copyright. You can put your work out there and like not for fan fiction, but for your own stuff. You can find a market that may have been underserved because the traditional houses were kind of keeping the keys to that gate, right? And that's what's so interesting. Like there's so many books, there's so many genres, there's so many different authors coming out because there's a platform for them.
Yeah.
Like it's also very difficult because there are so many books out there now. It's hard to like kind of noticed within you know, like the fish in the sea. I don't know what the metaphor is.
Screaming into the
but
void.
It's yeah, it's great. There you go, screaming into the void. But you can break through, and that is very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, definitely. And I think, you know, listening to podcasts like ours, and this is me personally, listening to podcasts like ours and actually doing the podcast, I've discovered so many amazing indie books when before we started this podcast, I was just reading, you know, your major, like your Stephen King, your Matthew Riley, you know, Rick Riordan and stuff like that. The things that you would see in the bookshelves and front page on your digital apps. But since doing this podcast, I've found so many different genres and so many different writers that I never would have checked out if I hadn't have heard of them on a podcast or met them through our podcast and discovered so many different amazing books. So,
well, and this podcast is doing a bit of a service for the community as well. Like you're not just learning about it, you're spreading it out to so many other people so that they learn about it. Like it's like the podcast community is really fascinating, and it is also grassroots stuff where maybe people are sick of, you know, the regular media. And I mean, we talk about that in TV all the time, how the media landscape has shifted so crazily. But yeah, that's like a bit of a service that you guys are giving.
And that's what I've always said, that that's the reason why I love doing this podcast. It's not because we make money or anything like that. It's because we want, if we can get one or say, if we can get 5 or 10 more people to buy your book than what you would have had if you didn't come on this podcast, then to me, that's a win. You know, because the age we live in, and I might sound like an old man, but the age we live in at the moment, a lot of people are not reading as much as they used to because you've got alternatives, you've got video games, you've got so many streaming services, you've got, you know, music streaming services and everything like that. Whereas, you know, there's not enough people devoting time to actually reading books.
Oh, actually, here's where you're wrong. You're actually wrong, Ryan, is that books are on the upswing.
Okay.
People are reading more books than they ever have in the past. And I think it's because there are so many things out there. I think it's exactly what you're saying. Like there's so many, there's streaming, there's social media, there's all this stuff, and people want to slow down and they want to read a book. And I think it's podcasts, like people wanting to hear real people talk about stuff and not being just served like, read this book because it's brilliant. It's like, no, read this book because it's fun. No, read this book because it's exciting. Read this one because it's sexy. Like it's the podcast community is really, I think, like I'm finding that as a debut author, that it's such an exciting community that what you are doing is making people read more. So Ryan, you're doing it.
We're doing it, bro. No, look, I love
You're
it.
Doing it,
bro. Because I found, just because we've been doing this, like, what, interviews probably for 3 years.
Wow.
That sort of thing. And we've made so many friends to the point that I was messaging a few, I think a week ago or something, or just like seeing what they're up to, that sort of thing. And none of them were replying. And then I went on YouTube and there was some channel I follow, oh, they're going live. And all of them were on a YouTube. And then,
oh my gosh,
I kid you, like 2 seconds later, they're talking about my book, you know?
Right.
And then, you know, over the next couple of days, I made a few more sales, you know? So it's just, that networking thing is just, it's the best thing.
Yeah. And I think people are very supportive. Like I love that saying, a high tide raises all boats. And it's like, it's not a question that there's only so much of the pie you can have. Like the more we support each other, the more everybody wins. Yeah. And I think that's really cool.
And then Jamie's right about this podcast. Like I've met so many friends that I was in hospital for 10 months last year, or this year and last year.
Gosh.
And there was one of our sponsors, Martin Kearns, who we've had on the show a few times. Me and him began talking on a daily basis because I used to work 7 days a week. I was just work. But since I went into hospital, I've I speak to him on a daily basis. We got really close, and it's just so weird to know that if we didn't have him on one of our episodes, I never would have made
Yeah.
such a close friend. And it's just amazing the amount of people that I talk to on a daily basis on Instagram. Like,
Mm.
that's the main one I use, but that have we've had on the show, and they've still become friends over the couple of years we've been doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like
Mm.
we've deviated too far from your book, so let's get back
Oh,
to that.
sorry.
No, sorry, it's what happens. It's what happens. We are the Tangent Kings.
We are the Tangent Kings.
So give it a plug. Tell us like what's the plot? Who are the characters?
Yeah.
What can we expect?
Okay, so like I said, it's about a female director and male director of photography. And the female director has been hired at the last minute because the male director that was originally in her spot has been fired because he said some unfortunate things about the Me Too movement. So he's been fired. They need a woman for PR reasons right away. They need someone who's available, and they need someone who's really good at directing sex scenes. And so this woman, Callie, is brought in from Canada at the last minute, and she walks right on the set on her first day. Like, she doesn't have any time to prep. She doesn't have any time to meet anybody. And she bangs straight into her director of photography, who is this guy that she has been sort of having had this kind of professional crush on for a long time because he's considered brilliant. He's considered a tyrant. He's an A-lister director of photography. And the director of photography is the person who establishes the look of the show and shoots all of the footage, like with his team or her team. And they're artists in their own right. And the director of photography work quite closely together to make a TV show. And she's all excited because this is her big break. And he just wants to get his day. He doesn't want any new ideas. He doesn't want any like sunshiny energy. And they spar because she's like, why don't you want new ideas? Like, why don't you want to try something different? And he's kind of wants to get into the director's seat because he's not, like what you were saying, Jamie, he's sick of not being in control of the entire vision.
Yeah.
He's tired of directors coming in and changing what he's done for the show. And he wants the director's spot. Now, he doesn't necessarily want her spot, but he's just sick of directors, maybe not knowing what they're doing or just changing things. And she really needs to make her mark because she needs to make this job work because of her own personal reasons. She looks after her mom and her sister, so she really needs this to work. So yeah, so then hijinks and romantic comedy ensues from there.
Now, were any of these characters based off real people?
They're big, like, I mean, yes, I mean, like,
You don't have to tell them who they are, but
okay, good. It's based on a lot of people I've worked with. There are circumstances that I've seen happen. I've heard from friends happen. And it's very much takes place on the set. And what happens, like there's problems with the actors, like the two lead actors. One is the woman, they're shooting the show called The Demon, and it's about this demon that gives men nightmares, and you begin to realize that the man that she's kind of focused on is a double agent for another kind of mystical subset, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And the actress who's playing her is very serious. She went to Yale. She really is very into her craft. She's very good. And the guy is been hired because he's beautiful and he can't act his way out of a paper bag. And she's furious because she's like, God damn it. And so they spark as well. And they kind of become foils for Callie and Jory about what it means to make this TV show. So yeah.
So when's the movie coming out?
Yeah. You get your friend who knows Ridley Scott to make it.
No. Well, we have another friend who's an independent filmmaker. He's a brilliant filmmaker who's just, I don't think it'd be up his alley because he loves period pieces and like he's very good at what he does. But
yeah.
he's old school, loves horror, loves tense stuff. But So I know
Nice.
I know a few, you know, actor people,
You
but
okay?
it's your world. You should just walk outside and every second
Yeah,
person's like someone, isn't it?
it is that easy in Los Angeles to get something made. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah,
Like I'm big time failing for,
yeah.
for not finding
Yeah.
anyone to do this movie. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I never watch stuff about the business
Yeah.
because I'm in it all the time and I don't want to see it. Like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
brother was
Yeah.
a cop, he didn't want to watch cop shows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because
You know, like
you'd start nitpicking it. Like we had
yeah,
a paramedic come on once.
hmm,
He's really funny. They got paramedics have dark sense of humor just because of what they
I
do and all
bet.
that stuff. But he says
Yeah.
he watches those shows. That wouldn't happen. That's not right. They wouldn't do this. They, it's just
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And then
I'm
sometimes when you're like, oh God, they would do that. And it's so
yeah
depressing.
yeah. I
But here I've written one, so I don't
yeah.
know.
No, well, you write what
Yeah.
you know. You write what you know. You know.
exactly.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
was just checking out one question that I like to ask all the authors is in relation to the covers. Now, I've had a look on your website and I've noticed the cover very bright, very vibrant, very, catching, eye-catching.
Mhm.
Did you design that yourself or was that done by the
Oh,
publisher or how would that work?
no, God, no. The publisher did it. And like the publisher hired out to get an
Yeah.
artist to do it.
Yeah.
And I have to give them credit. They actually asked me my opinion because most of the time they
They
don't.
don't. Yeah.
Like most of the time they just do it. And they asked me my opinion. They gave me, like 4 looks and I told them what I thought of it. And they actually let me kibosh one. Like they were very excited about this one. And I was like, I'm sorry, you just can't have this element on it. Like it doesn't make any sense. And they took it off. So I thought that was very
Yeah.
cool of them. And so it was a dialogue between me and, like whether or not I really had any say, I don't know, but it seemed they made it
Yeah.
seem like I did.
They made you feel like you had a say.
Made
Yeah.
me feel like I
Yes.
had a say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in talking with that, so obviously, you've gone over the synopsis and what the book's all about. Do you
Hmm.
think that there's room for like a sequel or a trilogy or anything like that?
Yeah, it's the beginning of what I hope is 4 books.
Okay.
Um, this I've already started the second one, which
Mhm.
is about the actors. Because the producers start to get a little bit because the main actor guy, the way that he deals, he's scared, right? Because he knows he can't act. He knows he's been hired for his looks and he knows tons of money is getting
Mm.
spent on him and he doesn't know what to do. And so what does he do? He acts like a jerk, like he's
Mm.
arrogant and he's a bit of a douche because
Yeah.
he's trying to hide his insecurities. So as a result, the producers are kind of like, well, he's not that great of an actor and he's hard to work with. So should we replace him? And the person that they're thinking of replacing him with is the lead woman's ex-boyfriend, who is incredibly toxic and totally screwed her over, like and wrecked her
Yeah.
career at the beginning. So she has to
Mm.
decide whether she's going to put up with the ex-boyfriend coming in or teach the actor that she doesn't like how to act because it's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what happens. And it's a bit of an opposites attract because
Yeah.
he is completely in love with her. She's super smart. He doesn't think he's smart at all. He's very heart smart, but he's
Mm.
not super book smart.
Yeah.
And she needs to chill out. She's a little
Mm.
too high strung. So it's an opposites attract situation.
So it's
So
a
there's
sec.
that. Then that's the second one. The third one is the producer, and then the fourth one is a showrunner, which is the person who um, runs the show. They do everything.
So it's
Yeah.
the second one going to be called Love Camera Cut.
Ah! I'll write that one down. At the moment, it's called Acting Up,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
that could change. That's the other thing. It's you don't really get to choose your title.
Yeah.
They
Well,
asked me to.
you should come to the self-publishing route. You can do what you want.
Well, no, I know that's true. You can do what you want, but then you have to do everything. That's the
Yeah.
only problem.
Oh, I don't mind. Just marketing. Someone tell me how to do marketing.
Yeah, good stuff for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, so there's sequels, and I've got another series in mind that's a little bit more speculative fiction. It's a time travel thing. So
Ooh.
mhm.
Time travel romance.
And my
Mhm. Yeah.
my other question is that I do ask this of romance writers. Um, how like because only just because and I say no offense to Charlotte, she's an amazing person, she's an amazing writer. How spicy is your book?
Well, it's okay, so there's there's different like levels of spicy, and I would put myself on a what people would say like a 3 spicy level. So like 5 is they're doing it all the time.
Mm.
1 is like maybe you see a little bit, maybe it's closed door, you know? So I'm right in the middle. I've got like 3 or 4 pretty spicy scenes, but they're long. So that's my you know, for me personally, um I don't like to read romance novels without any spice because I'm kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's just me. Some people are cool
Yeah.
with it. I'm just like, I don't know. Why am I reading this if it's not
Yeah.
there? So but it's around the middle. It's around the middle. Like, I mean, I have ideas that are much further on the spice meter. But right now I'm writing right in the middle.
Yeah.
If that's a
Okay.
middle for you, like that's the middle for me. I don't know what you think, Ryan, is like spicy or not. Like what's
Well,
your
the one that I started reading from Charlotte Charlotte
Mhm.
Chaos was pretty full on. Like, and as I said, that's just it's just honestly like I it's just it to me it's just not my cup of tea. I don't know if it's I'm getting older, but I don't like watching sex scenes much on movies or TV anymore
Mhm,
because
mhm,
I'm 42. But that I mean that's not that old, but you know what I mean. Like it's I don't know
Mhm.
if it's something that happens as you get older, but I get a little bit embarrassed kind of thing. So, but the book that I
okay.
started reading, there was quite a lot. I would say for probably yeah, a lot. Like there was a
A
lot.
lot. Okay.
And
So
I know there's a
mine,
market for that, you know. So
oh, there's a big market for it. There's a
yeah.
big market for it. So mine, it's like they don't really start getting into anything hot and heavy until about, I'm gonna say 65% into the book. Like
Yeah.
once the 65% mark that hits, they go at it. And then the last
Okay.
20%, they're not doing it. So it's like within that 25% range. There's a lot going on. So you could skip that if you want.
Yeah.
There's actually like
Yeah.
there's a differentiation between romance and erotica with in
Mhm.
terms of the sex scenes. Is that the thought is with romance, if it's a romance, you can take the sex scenes out and it won't affect the characters. Like it
Mhm.
won't affect the character's development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in erotica, the development is through the spicy scenes.
Yeah.
So if you took the spicy scenes out, it wouldn't make any sense, if you
I
get
get
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm not a prude in any way. Like, don't think that I'm not religious at all. I'm not against any of anything like that. I guess it's just
Personal
I
taste.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the books that I read, like I read a lot of horror. I read
Mhm.
a lot of like action, spy, espionage, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. But I don't mind a bit of romance as well, you know, like
Mhm.
to sort of round everything up. I
Yeah.
just think when it gets to be super spicy, it just turns me off a little
Mhm.
bit. That's all.
Well, the cool thing about romance is that you can have spy romances. I've read spy espionage romances. I've read
Yeah.
horror romances. I've read
Mhm.
sci-fi. I've read fantasy. I've read the historical. You know, like you can get every genre in romance.
Mhm.
And the only defining thing that makes it romance is that the focus is on the two people. But there's like, you know, murder mysteries or thrillers or mafia
Yeah.
ones
Mm.
or, you know, military ones or werewolves or, you know, vampires or whatever. And that's what's kind of fun about romance is that there's so
Mhm.
many different kinds and also many different kinds of spice levels too. Like you
Yeah,
can find
definitely.
ones that have less.
Just
So,
no pumpkin spice.
Definitely. No pumpkin spice.
No pumpkin spice. Yeah.
No pumpkin spice.
No pumpkin
There
spice
is a
for you.
romance novel that just came out that was pumpkin spice
Really?
love or
No.
something. Or yeah, and I was
No.
like, I am not reading this.
Jamie, we're never having that author on our show at all. Make sure you check that.
I'm gonna track them
No
down.
pumpkin spice. No pumpkin spice.
They're gonna jump the long list.
And you know what? That day that we record, I will be significantly sick and will not be
There you
able
go.
to record.
But I-
Line drawn.
But I will do the thing where like, oh, surprise guest.
Oh, you bastard.
And what about
Bullshit.
you, Jamie? Do you read any romance?
Well, I've written so like I blend genres. Like I don't read all
Mhm.
that much. I
Mhm.
want to, but I'm always writing. And my thing is that
Okay.
I'll pick up a book, I'll start
Mhm.
reading it, then I'll get an idea in my head, and my mind will just wander.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard for me to focus.
Mm.
I wrote I didn't want it to be a romance, but it had to be because of the premise. I went
Oh.
to I threw my best mate a medieval themed bucks party back in the day.
Mm.
So we all dressed up as
Mhm.
medieval things. And then I had the idea, what would happen if the zombie apocalypse happened at a medieval themed bucks party?
Right. Okay.
Let's call it Bucks Night with a K, you know. So,
Yeah.
and then it just grew into this series of novellas, and it's centered around people trying to get married during the zombie apocalypse. But
Oh,
everyone's-
that's fun.
so
I
it's-
love that.
There's romantic elements in it, but it's
Mhm.
I don't know. Ryan's read it, so I don't know how intense
Mhm.
there's nothing intense about the
No.
romance. It's just
No.
like,
Mm.
but there's a lot of zombies and stuff like that. But
The zombies outnumber the romance. Like I said, I don't mind that kind of romance. Like
Yeah.
it's just when the book is all about people just doing it left, right, and center.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a
Mhm.
bit much
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Maybe 21-year-old Ryan would love that, but like
yeah,
at the moment,
Yeah.
I get, that's why this podcast works because you're the writer, I'm the reader. I consume books
Yeah.
like there's no tomorrow.
Mhm.
I read,
Mhm.
read, and read, especially over the last 2 years where I haven't been working. I've been reading and reading and reading and reading, and so that's why it's a bit of a different perspective from both our angles.
Yeah.
But your book, Bucks, the Wedding Night trilogy it's fine. It's fine
Well,
for
there's
me anyway.
it's the classic cutaway. There's sex, but you don't see it.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
so it's closed door.
You know what's
Closed
going on.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
Mhm.
descriptive
Yeah.
There's no descriptive
Yeah. There's a lot of jokes.
scenes. Yeah.
There's a lot of jokes,
Cool.
and then there's a lot of tears. Because I love Bill Lawrence so much and his ability to
Yeah.
make you laugh and cry within 30 seconds. That's something
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love to do. You know?
I
Mhm.
hate that about him, but I love it about him because it's like, and it's so true in all of his shows. He does it, even in, like every single show I've watched of Bill Lawrence, he does.
Mhm.
You're laughing and then, oh God. And then,
Yeah,
you start to get teary, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no. Look, I don't mind romance. Like, I like a good rom-com, but it depends on the level of the
Mm.
rom-com. Like,
Mhm.
I like Adam Sandler rom-com.
Yeah.
Aha.
I don't like
Okay.
my Big Fat Greek Wedding rom-coms.
Right.
I love those
Like,
ones. I love my Big Fat Greek Wedding. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. All three of them, I absolutely love. I find that they're really funny.
I love
Only because on my mum's side, they're like she's half Greek, so I can understand some of the, some of the traditions.
the Will
Right.
Ferrell Eurovision. I love that movie.
Yeah, that was
Um,
Oh,
awesome.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's so funny. It is so like it's
Oh, but also like Australians love Eurovision, right? I had a friend who was one of the directors for the Eurovision. Like he was a director for a few years for Eurovision, and he had to explain to me how Australia was even in Eurovision.
Yeah.
And like the road to getting into Eurovision. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't personally love it. I just love the movie. It made me kind of respect it almost, because they don't take the piss out of it too much. Like, because Will Ferrell's married to a Swedish woman,
Right.
and her whole family are Eurovision tragics. So he kind of wanted to do it in a way that was still funny but not overly disrespectful or anything.
Yeah.
So the accent he
I
does
mean,
in that whole
I
movie.
think North Americans don't quite get what we don't get it. You know, I think it's a little bit more front and center for Australians. Like they know what it is, they know the politics, they knew who the players are. Whereas I remember like the first time I learned about Eurovision was when I was in school in Sweden, and I was like, what is this? And it was so huge. Like it was so all encompassing for the whole like continent. And I was like, how did I never hear it? And you really just don't. Like you kind of think it's like you kind of know a little bit about it now, but it's not on the same level.
So so they're the kind of movies that I like. I like a little bit of romance, but I'm not like all in for the love. If it's just a love story, I'm like,
right.
Gotcha. Give me something with it.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. Like it has to have some sort of engine to it, right? It has to have something going on. Like it's not just the love story. It's the love story around a murder, or it's a love story around your ship blowing up in space, or it's about a dragon school that you have to go to. Because it's a little bit boring watching people fall in love. Isn't some sort of conflict going on.
That just comes down to good storytelling, really.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into our bonus content, which is we separate it. Like we tried Patreon for a while, but it doesn't like me.
Okay.
So now we're going to have for the audio listeners, this is where it ends. But if you jump onto our YouTube, you get the bonus stuff because we're going to build our YouTube up a little bit.
Okay.
So that's the theme behind it. So guys, for the audio listeners, I guess, do you just want to tell them where they can follow you, buy your books, and stay up to date?
Yeah. So I'm at noelstark.com, and you can follow me on IG and on TikTok at Noel Stark Author, and that's NOEL STARK, like Tony or the Stark family. Game of
Ned Stark.
Ned Stark. And you can follow me there. Emma, you can get my book anywhere like Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I don't know what your book. What's your big book outlet in Australia?
I don't know. I know we've got
Dymocks.
Yep.
Dymocks. QBD. QBD is a big one. They're pretty much all over the place.
We should be able to get it in.
A lot of bookstores. Yeah, for sure.
And it's audiobook, ebook, and hard and soft cover. So however you consume your books.
Just quickly, who did the audio?
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, who did the audio book?
Maxine Mitchell. Maxine Mitchell did it, and she did a fantastic job. Yeah. So I actually don't. I imagine. Sometimes I like audiobooks up on Spotify, but I know it's on Audible, and it's you can get it wherever.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get into the bonus stuff.
Bonus stuff.
Ryan's making this Googling face.
Yep.
I know. I saw him do that. I'm like, I went through a big. I know you guys said that you were comic book nerds, but I went through a really big comic book phase. I think when I was in university, and it was all like DC Vertigo stuff.
Oh, cool.
So all the kind of side stuff like Hellblazer and the Invisibles.
Yeah.
This is what the last guest did. He named books that had 3 books within the books.
And I remember thinking, like, I was getting so worked up about it. I was getting so scared. And then I thought, no, wait a second. Just calm down. It'll be fine. It's a monster movie. And then I was like, oh my God, but it's a South Korean monster movie. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen.
I think the reason the boat sank on, stranded you on the desert island was because of all the weight of your books. I think that, they're like, you should only allowed to take 3, but 25 and